What happens when the wild meets captivity and trust turns deadly? On a blazing summer day in California, a beloved orca trainer's life was violently ripped away in front of hundreds of stunned spectators. This isn't just a tragic accident. It's a powerful story about the unseen dangers lurking beneath the surface. Welcome to True Animal Terrors, where real stories reveal the hidden dangers of human-wildlife interaction. Stay with us as we uncover the truth behind the fatal attack that shook the world of marine parks forever. From the moment Elise Moreau first dipped her toes into the chilly Pacific waves, she dreamed of dancing with giants. For a decade, she did exactly that, building a career as one of the world's most revered orca trainers. Known for her serene calm and an almost uncanny connection with the ocean's most formidable predators, Elise was a beacon of trust in a world where humans and wild beasts rarely meet without conflict. But on a seemingly ordinary June afternoon, before a crowd of hundreds, her dream shattered in the cruelest way possible. What happened next was more than a tragedy. It was a revelation that would shake an entire industry to its core. Before we dive into that day, there are 3 unsettling truths you need to know. First, Elise Moreau was not just any trainer. She was considered the absolute best in her field, praised by peers and adored by the public. Second, Kayla, the massive orca she trusted with her life, had a dark history, one marked by violence and trauma that no one truly wanted to face. And third, the catastrophic event that unfolded wasn't just a fatal attack. It exposed deep, uncomfortable truths about captivity, control, and human arrogance. Elise's connection to the ocean began far from the spotlight, along the rugged shores of Brittany, France. As a child, she felt the seas pull stronger than anywhere else. While other kids played with dolls or toys, Elise's treasures were books on marine biology and hand-drawn orcas sketched in the margins of her notebooks. To her, orcas were not mere animals, but enigmatic creatures filled with grace, intelligence, and mystery. By 19, Elise left home for the United States, enrolling in a demanding marine mammal training program. The early days were harsh, scrubbing tanks, preparing meals of thawed fish, enduring strict routines. But Elise's quiet resolve began to set her apart. She developed a rare skill, reading not only human body language, but also the subtle signals of the animals she worked with. By the time Elise was 34, she had risen to become the lead trainer at Blue Sea Sanctuary, perched on the scenic cliffs of Santa Cruz, California. She wasn't just admired by fellow trainers, she was beloved by fans. Children clutched posters with her name, and tourists flocked to witness her performances. Her signature show, Harmony of the Deep, was a mesmerizing ballet of movement between human and orca. Yet what truly captured hearts was not the spectacle, but the profound bond she shared with Kayla, the sanctuary's largest orca. Their connection was so deep that Elise swore she could read Kayla's moods in a glance, and Kayla responded to Elise's voice with an affectionate warmth that seemed impossible from such a powerful wild predator. Elise doesn't train Kayla, a coworker once said. They speak the same language. To the audience, it was magic, a testament to trust between woman and beast. But beneath the polished performances and radiant smiles, few dared to ask the hard question. What happens when that fragile trust breaks? Kayla was not a creature born in captivity. She was stolen from the wild, frigid waters of Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula in 1995. During a migration, speedboats cut through the pod's serene passage, nets were thrown, and panicked calls echoed over the sea. Kayla, still a juvenile, was violently torn from her mother, her pod scattering in terror. Sedated and hauled into a transport tank, her capture was swift, efficient, and, heartbreakingly, legal. Over the following years, Kayla was shuffled between holding facilities, trained and conditioned to perform. But beneath her intelligence and quick learning simmered deep mistrust and emotional scars. Reports surfaced of her mood swings, refusal to eat, periods of withdrawal, and violent outbursts, including a devastating tail strike that broke a trainer's ribs. These incidents were quietly brushed aside as anomalies. When Blue Sea Sanctuary acquired Kayla at age 12, they knew of her troubled temperament, but saw only the star she could become. Immense, commanding, and perfect for the spotlight. Publicly hailed as a gentle giant, Privately, executives noted her high commercial value. Over time, Kayla appeared calmer, bonding with Elise in a way that surprised even veteran trainers. Elise insisted Kayla was misunderstood, not dangerous. For a while, it seemed she was right. Yet, beneath the rehearsals and routines lurked a darker truth. Kayla's capture tore her from a world of endless ocean, familial instinct, and ancient memory, a world no human-made rewards or commands could fully replace. Some called it trauma, others instinct. A primal force waiting to break free. Whatever the name, Kayla was different. And the past, no matter how deeply buried, never stays silent forever. To outsiders, the Elise-Kayla relationship was extraordinary. Trainers whispered of something beyond mere conditioning, an emotional, almost spiritual connection. While others relied on whistles and target polls, Elise's tool was her voice and presence alone. But the fragile dance between human and predator was always balanced on a knife's edge, waiting for the moment when years of pain and captivity might tip the scales into chaos. Elise once said in an interview, gently resting her hand on Kayla's sleek back, "She listens to my heart." Those words captured headlines and warmed the hearts of thousands who believed in a perfect bond between woman and whale. But behind the scenes, the reality was far more fragile. There were moments, fleeting yet unmistakably real, when Kayla hesitated, a spin missed by a fraction of a second, a prolonged refusal to breach, or an unfamiliar gaze that lingered too long. Elise brushed off these signs with a practiced smile, saying, "She's just being moody today," echoing an optimism that had defined her from the very start. To Elise, these were not warnings, but the intricate nuances of their emotional connection. Yet some close colleagues felt the cracks beginning to show. James Lynn, a junior trainer, had noticed subtle shifts in Kayla's behavior during rehearsals, a growing tension that hung beneath the surface. He pointed to the small things, the angle of her turns, the way her rostrum dipped slightly lower, the unmistakable weight in her presence. "You could feel it," he recalled later. "She was holding something back." When James approached Elise cautiously with his concerns, she waved them away firmly. "I know her better than anyone," she said, and she did. But that very certainty would become the shadow that made the entire situation dangerously unpredictable. Behind closed doors, Blue Sea Sanctuary's management received troubling internal reports. Trainers documented increased jaw popping, a classic sign of stress in orcas, and persistent separation behaviors following shows. These were well-known indicators of frustration and unease, yet the reports were quietly shelved, out of sight and out of mind. Kayla was the star attraction. Elise was the beloved face of the sanctuary. Neither could afford to falter. The show went on as usual, smiles stayed bright, routines remained flawless, and audiences cheered. But in Kayla's deep, intelligent eyes, something was stirring. Something Elise refused to acknowledge. Elise had built her trust on years of love, discipline, and belief in an unbreakable bond. But sometimes, the tighter we cling to something, the more it slips through our fingers. On June 12th, Santa Cruz baked, under a blistering sun. The heat poured over Blue Sea Sanctuary like a merciless spotlight, turning the packed stadium into a furnace. Over 800 spectators, from toddlers fanning themselves with paper to retirees sipping lemonade, filled the bleachers, waiting for the much-anticipated Harmony of the Deep anniversary performance. This show marked 10 years of Elise's work with Kayla, a celebration that culminated in a breathtaking finale where Kayla would lift Elise high above the water, balancing her on her rostrum like a living platform. It was a maneuver that never failed to elicit gasps and applause. As the gates opened, Kayla's sleek black and white form sliced through the shimmering water, and the crowd erupted into cheers. Elise stepped forward, extending her hands, a soft whistle signaling Kayla to begin, but the orca did not respond. Kayla hovered in place, her pectoral fins twitching faintly. Elise repeated the cue, adding a gentle vocal command, "Up, girl, let's go." But still, Kayla remained still. Slowly, Kayla approached, but not as expected. Instead of sliding beneath Elise as trained, she veered coldly to the side, brushing past Elise's legs with a heavy glide. Elise chuckled nervously, attempting to mask the unease in her voice. "She's feeling playful today," she said into the microphone, and the audience laughed, oblivious to the growing tension beneath the surface. Without warning, the atmosphere shattered. Kayla doubled back and struck. The Orca surged upward, knocking Elise off balance and sending her plunging into the pool with a splash. For a moment, it seemed like a stumble, an accident. Spectators leaned in, intrigued. Then the water turned violent. Kayla's jaws clamped down on Elise's left arm with terrifying precision. A scream tore from Elise's lips, muffled beneath the water. Her body thrashed wildly, desperate to break free. Bubbles and blood erupted into the air as trainers on deck froze, stunned by the horrifying shift from graceful performance to brutal attack. Kayla did not relent. She dragged Elise beneath the surface, spun her violently, then burst upward, thrashing the limp trainer in full view of the horrified crowd. Gasps rippled through the stands, turning quickly to screams. Parents shielded their children's eyes. Someone shouted, "That's not part of the show!" Elise broke the surface once, gasping, her face pale and panicked. She reached desperately for the pool's edge, but Kayla grabbed her leg, yanking her back under with bone-crushing force. Alarms blared, staff scrambled, deploying emergency nets while trainers hurled weighted buoys, attempting to distract the Orca. But Kayla remained locked in her deadly focus. The attack lasted less than 2 minutes. When Kayla finally released Elise, she floated to the surface, motionless. Blood tangled in her hair, eyes open and vacant. The crowd sank into stunned silence. The only sound was the gentle lap of water against the pool's edge. Something beautiful had been shattered. No one could pretend this was just a show anymore. The water rippled red. Elise's body, once a symbol of grace and trust in the pool, now lay twisted beneath the waves. Kayla struck again, this time clamping down on her torso. Her immense black and white mass churned the water like a storm. Elise tried to scream, but salt and blood filled her throat. Her limbs thrashed wildly, each attempt to reach the surface met with a violent drag downward. Above, the audience could no longer cheer. Panic gripped the stands. Children cried. A woman dropped her phone in frozen horror. The cheerful music that had accompanied the performance continued for a surreal few seconds before cutting abruptly to silence. Backstage, emergency protocols kicked into full gear. Trainers sprinted toward the pool, throwing distraction toys, slapping the water, shouting Kayla's name, but she did not respond. Her eyes were locked on Elise, not with rage, but with a cold, detached focus. It was as if Kayla was no longer performing, but reclaiming something stolen from her. Elise resurfaced briefly, coughing violently, her face ghostly white. Her mouth formed a single word: help. Then Kayla struck again. This time, her rostrum slammed into Elise's chest with bone-shattering force. The crack echoed through the stadium. Elise's body went limp. Kayla circled, then launched the trainer high into the air. Elise's form arched helplessly before crashing back into the pool, hitting the surface like a dropped doll. Security rushed in, but too late to intervene. A trainer activated the underwater sound system, blasting high-frequency tones meant to deter aggression. Instead, the noise agitated Kayla further. The Orca thrashed violently, spraying water onto the first row of spectators. One emergency net snagged on the railing, failing to deploy properly. Seconds dragged on like hours. Finally, Kayla stopped. She drifted motionless in the center of the tank. Elise's body floated near the edge, lifeless. Elise's arm bent unnaturally, her wetsuit torn and clinging to her pale skin. The water around her was stained dark and eerily still. Paramedics pulled her lifeless body from the pool, immediately starting chest compressions, desperate to revive the woman who had danced so gracefully with giants just moments before. Over the radio, someone sobbed uncontrollably, the sound raw and haunting. But the silence from Elise was deafening. She was gone. Across the pool, Kayla watched, her massive black and white form eerily calm as the crowd slowly evacuated, stunned into silence, forever changed by the horror they had witnessed. What was meant to be a celebration of connection had ended in carnage, and beneath the quiet surface, something ancient and primal had awakened. The morning after the attack, Blue Sea Sanctuary remained closed to the public. Heavy chains barred the gates, while security guards patrolled the empty walkways. News vans swarmed the entrance, reporters hungry for answers. Inside, the pool where Elise Moreau had died was still, its surface deceptively calm, a silent witness to tragedy. The illusion of safety was gone. Everyone knew it. Within hours, an official investigation was launched. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, animal welfare inspectors, and marine biologists descended on the facility. What began as a public relations crisis quickly spiraled into something far darker. Internal documents leaked, whistleblowers stepped forward, and a dam of silence burst open. Kayla's history, once carefully hidden, revealed a troubling pattern. Aggressive lunges during feeding, jaw-popping toward trainers, repeated refusals to obey commands, and unexplained agitation after performances in front of large crowds. One report detailed Kayla ramming the pool wall, eyes wide with stress, her vocalizations sharp and continuous. Yet these red flags never reached the public. Management downplayed every incident, branding them routine behavioral quirks. Private emails spoke cold truths. "Too valuable to sideline," executives wrote. "We'll monitor. Don't escalate. Elise can handle her. She's the only one who can." Months before Elise's death, a former trainer who had quit gave a chilling interview, warning that Kayla wasn't just acting out, she was unraveling. The tragedy was not unforeseen. Elise, however, trusted Kayla too deeply. Elise's family, shattered by grief and anger, demanded accountability. Her parents revealed heartbreaking journal entries Elise had written in the weeks before the attack. Kayla had been acting strange, but Elise believed it was stress or the heat. One haunting line stood out: "If I can't reach her, maybe no one can." Public outrage erupted like wildfire. Protests sprang up outside marine parks across California. Petitions to end orca captivity gathered millions of signatures within days. Social media transformed Kayla from a tragedy into a symbol, not of betrayal by a wild creature, but of betrayal by a system that put profit over safety, image over truth. Lucy Sanctuary issued a brief statement. "We are heartbroken by Elise's loss. She was family. We are cooperating fully with authorities." But the damage was done. Behind the curtain of smiles and sequins, the public saw the truth. A wild predator confined to a concrete tank, a gifted woman lulled into fatal trust, and a culture that ignored warning signs until it was too late. Elise Moreau didn't die from lack of skill. She died because no one listened when the water warned them. Elise's death did not fade quietly into the news cycle. Across the nation, images of her final performance were replayed relentlessly. The moment of impact, the spreading red in the water, the screams, and the haunting silence that followed. Candlelight vigils were held outside Blue Sea Sanctuary. Fans left flowers, photographs, and handwritten notes at the gate. One reading, "She gave her heart to the ocean, and the system drowned her." Elise became more than a trainer. She became a symbol of compassion, misplaced trust, and the devastating cost of caging wildness. Animal rights organizations seized the moment, reigniting campaigns against marine mammal captivity. Billboards appeared across cities with blunt messages: "Captivity kills, free Kayla." Elise had believed in connection. Now many saw the truth. Within weeks, California lawmakers debated the Orca Protection Act, a bill to ban the breeding, sale, and performance of captive orcas. Thousands flooded representatives' offices demanding reform. At a public hearing, Elise's parents testified, holding up her torn, blood-stained wetsuit, a grim, unarguable testament to the cost of captivity. They didn't seek vengeance, they demanded change. Inside the sanctuary, Kayla swam alone. No longer performing, trainers no longer entered the water. Her routines had ceased. She circled the tank silently for hours, surfacing only to breathe, what no one could say. Some called her a killer, others a victim. But one truth remained: she had been forced into a life that was never hers to live. Visitors were barred from seeing Kayla. Yet one janitor recalled passing her tank late one night, seeing her motionless at the surface, staring into empty seats where Elise once stood. He swore she hadn't moved for hours. Elise Moreau's name is etched in bronze near the sanctuary entrance, but her legacy extends far beyond stone. Schools reconsidered field trips. Families stopped buying tickets. Celebrities raised their voices. A global movement blossomed, not from hatred for orcas, but from a painful new understanding. Even the strongest bond can shatter when built inside a prison. Elise dreamed of connection, of harmony, of bridging the gap between species. In the end, that dream died in the very water where it was born. The tragic death of Elise Moreau is a haunting reminder that the line between human and wild is fragile and must never be crossed without caution and respect. Kayla's story is not just about one orca or one trainer. It's a reflection of the consequences when we ignore the true nature of wildlife and force them into unnatural lives. We owe it to Elise's memory and to the animals themselves to listen carefully to the warnings hidden beneath the surface. Captivity may bring entertainment, but it also brings risks that are often overlooked until it's too late.